Let's continue with chapter 22 of the tale of Despereaux. He puts his heart together again. A squirrel hurried from the banquet hall. "A rat," he said. He put a paw over his heart. "I am a rat, and there is no light for rats. There will be no light for me." The king's men were still bent over the queen. The king was still shouting, "Save her! Save her!" And the queen was still dead, of course, when a squirrel encountered the queen's royal soup spoon lying on the floor. "I will have something beautiful," he said out loud. "I am a rat, but I will have something beautiful. I will have a crown of my own." He picked up the spoon. He put it on his head. "Yes," he said, "Squirrel, I will have something beautiful, and I will have revenge. Both things, somehow." There are those hearts, reader, that never mend again once they are broken. Or if they do mend, they heal themselves in a crooked, lopsided way, as if sewn together by a careless craftsman. Such was the fate of Chiaroscuro. His heart was broken. Picking up the spoon and placing it on his head, speaking of revenge, these things helped him to put his heart together again. But alas, it was put together wrong. Sorry. "Where is the rat?" shouted the king. "Find that rat." "If you want me," muttered Roscuro as he left the banquet hall, "I will be in the dungeon, in the darkness." Chapter 23. Consequences. There were, of course, dire consequences of Roscuro's behavior. Every action, reader, no matter how small, has a consequences. For instance, the young Roscuro gnawed on Gregory, the jailer's rope, and because he gnawed on the rope, a match was lit in his face, and because a match was lit in his face, his soul was set afire. The rat's soul was set afire, and because of this, he journeyed upstairs, seeking the light. Upstairs in the banquet hall, the Princess Bee spotted him and called out the word rat, and because of this, Roscuro fell into the queen's soup. And because the rat fell into the queen's soup, the queen died. You can see, can't you, how everything is related to everything else? You can see quite clearly how every action has a consequence. For instance, if, reader, you will indulge me and allow me to continue this mediation on consequences. Because the queen died while eating soup, the heartbroken king outlawed soup, and because the soup was outlawed, so were all the instruments involving in making the soup and eating of soup, spoons and spools and kettles. These were things collected from all the people of the kingdom of Dor, and they were piled in the dungeon. And because Roscuro was dazzled by the light of one match and journeyed upstairs and fell into the queen's soup and the queen died, the king ordered the death of every rat in the land. The king's men went bravely into the dungeon to kill the rats. But the thing about killing a rat is that you must first find a rat. And if a rat does not want to be found, reader, he will not be found. Sorry. The king's men succeeded in only getting lost in the dungeon's tortuous mazes. Some of them, in fact, did not ever find their way out again and died there in the dark heart of the castle. And so the killing of all rats was not successful, and in desperation, King Philip declared the rats were illegal. He declared them outlaws. This, of course, was a ridiculous law, as rats were outlaws to begin with. How can you outlaw an outlaw? It was a waste of time and energy. But still, the king officially declared that all rats in the kingdom of Dor were outlaws and should be treated as such. When you are a king, you may make as many ridiculous laws as you like. That is what being a king is all about. But reader, we must not forget that King Philip loved the queen, and that without her, he was lost. This is the danger of loving. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how many kingdoms you rule, you cannot stop those you love from dying. Making soup illegal, outlawing rats, these things soothe the poor king's heart, and so we must forgive him. And what of the outlawed rats? What of one outlaw rat in particular? What of Chiaroscuro? In the darkness of the dungeon he sat in his nest with the spoon atop his head. He set to work fashioning himself a kingly cape made out of the scrap of the red tablecloth, and as he worked, old one-eared Botticelli Remorso sat next to him, swinging his locket back and forth, saying, "You see what comes from a rat going upstairs? I hope that you have learned your lesson. Your job in this world is to make others suffer." "Yes," muttered Roscuro, "yes, that is exactly what I intend to do. I will make the princess suffer for how she looked at me." And as Roscuro worked and planned, the jailer Gregory held tight to his rope and made his own way through the darkness, and in a dank cell, the prisoner who had once had a red tablecloth and now had nothing spent his days weeping quietly. High above the dungeons, upstairs in the castle, a small mouse stood alone one evening as his brothers and sisters sniffed for crumbs. He stood with his head cocked to one side, listening to a sweet sound he did not yet have a name for. There would be a consequence of the mouse's love for music. You, reader, know already of those consequences. But because of the music, the mouse would find his way to a princess. He would fall in love. And speaking of consequences, the same evening that Despereaux stood inside the castle, hearing music for the first time outside the castle, in the gloom of dusk, more consequences drew near. A wagon driven by a king's soldier and piled high with spoons and bowls and kettles was making its way to the castle. And beside the soldiers there sat a young girl with ears that looked nothing so much as pieces of cauliflower stuck on either side of her head. The girl's name, reader, was Miggery So, and though she did not know it yet, she would be instrumental in helping the rat work his revenge. This, little one, is the end of the second book. We will continue next time.